Where do you see AI in your industry going? Where do you see it taking your industry, and what are some of the practical applications for you guys down the road, in your opinion? I mean, you stay up on, I'm sure, like everybody else.
So if you take a part, the way to get the metal into the part is called a gating system. And right now, basically with my experience, I can look at a part and tell you how you have to gate it. Well, if somebody brand new comes in the field, they have no idea how to gate these parts. So what we like to actually do is develop an AI system where we can take the part, tell you how to print it on a 3D printer for the AMEC process, how to gate it, and how to code it. So we basically allow then the people in the field that doesn't have a lot of Foundry experience to be able to make a good part.
Gotcha.
And then we can actually sell that as a total solution.
Welcome to the Systems Edge podcast. This is a show where we talk about operations and we try to find out what works, what doesn't work, what people in different companies are doing, and how they manage their systems, their business systems. And today, my guest is Mark DeBruin from Skuld. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. So I always start off by saying to my guests, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe not the LinkedIn version, maybe just kind of a casual, if someone asks you, what do you do? And a little bit about your company.
Well, I've actually, I have a BS in electrical engineering and a master's in math. And this is actually my 6th startup foundry, which in the US, you don't hear about very many foundries starting up. And I've actually been involved with quite a few of them. What we do at Skuld is we actually have multiple different avenues. We're a traditional lost foam foundry, but then I've also figured out how to cast low carbon steels and stainless steels. We're also doing high nickel stainless steels like HU for heat treating. We figured out how to do Inconels, which to the best of our knowledge, we're the only foundry in the world that figured out how to do Inconels and lost foam. And then we do your normal grade ductile and aluminums. We've also developed a process called AMEC where we can actually 3D print our parts, use the regular lost foam process and get an exact replica, but hold the same dimensional tolerances as a normal lost foam part that we don't need tooling for.
Interesting. Sounds like you are on the cutting edge of some incredible technology. Do you guys, is this your own IP, your own intellectual property to some of this stuff?
Yes, my CEO and myself developed it. We're actually getting quite a few patents on the AMEC process.
Awesome.
And then also the low carbon steels and some other items.
So I assume that's what's energizing you these days. I usually like to ask, what is energizing you? But it sounds like you really get into the technology and the science of this stuff. Is that what really hits you the most?
It's a mixture of the technology and also the metallurgy, because there's a lot of metallurgical sides like the low carbon stainless steel stuff that nobody else has figured out. And it's fun to be on that cutting edge. And
That's
you
awesome.
can't Google what we're doing because we're so far ahead. There's no way of Googling it.
You wouldn't even know what to Google, would you? No, that's great. Good for you. Good for you guys. That's awesome. So you guys have have a tiger by the tail there. How are you managing all of that in terms of your business systems? Do you guys have your own ERP system you've built from the ground up too? Or are you guys managing it with Excel spreadsheets? How do you manage all the details and go into what you're doing?
A lot of it is actually, we'll just manage it ourselves with Excel sheets and Word documents, and then trying to keep track of, we have quite a few different government programs.
Okay.
So we're trying to keep track of all of those at the same time.
Yep. So no formal systems at this point, but
No formal systems. It's all,
yeah.
Because to do an ERP system for a foundry is actually somewhat difficult, because most of the ERPs is built more for manufacturing, where you take 3 or 4 raw materials and you make a product.
Right.
A foundry, you take 4 or 5 raw materials, you make a product, but not 100% of it becomes the product. So like 30 or 40% goes back to your original raw materials a second time. In the ERP systems, do not.
That
have the
makes
best
sense.
time of dealing with that.
That makes sense. Yeah. So when the time's right, it'll be a custom system you'll have to build at some point because it just sounds like
Right.
it anyways. Yeah. Yeah. Just because
There's a couple out there, but we're still exploring those.
okay. Well, good. Good. That's awesome. So what are the kind of things that are keeping you awake at 2 in the morning these days?
Actually, of all the crazy things is the weather.
Weather. Does that affect your business?
Yes, it does because we have cooling systems for our furnaces.
Oh, okay.
And when it got to -20 a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
even though we have antifreeze in all of our cooling systems,
Hmm.
a couple of the pipes actually froze.
Wow. That makes sense. That makes sense. Interesting. So that's what's worries you at night, I guess, when you're not at the office is like, does it slow down production then and stuff like that?
Well, when your pipes froze, we basically had to stop production,
Yeah.
go in, fix all the pipes, and then refill the entire cooling system.
Mm-hmm.
So we were down for about 4 days.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. So, are you guys have I mean, you have a good sized staff you mentioned earlier. You don't have to get into the details of it like that, but you're running into hiring issues. Do people have to have any kind of certain type of knowledge to work there? You have engineers. Like what's an ideal candidate for working at a place like that when you really don't have no one's going to have any experience to in this environment to come into it?
Well, we actually have quite a few engineers.
Okay.
And I used to be on the external advisor committee for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually went to the engineering department I'm actually an electrical engineer.
Okay.
And a lot of engineering departments try to take out the creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ideal candidate is somebody that's actually still very creative
Mm-hmm.
and is willing to learn new things and change quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we're developing, you have to be able to change with the new knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the ideal candidates, we actually have quite a few younger engineers that is not set in their ways. They're able to develop and change and use a lot of their engineering concepts, but able to basically go with the flow.
Yeah. 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 And I think engineers in general tend to like black and white environments,
Right.
right?
And we live a lot in the gray.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like it. It sounds fascinating. You're like the Steve Jobs of what you're doing, right? You're forcing these guys to push the envelope and live outside the box. So it's where you have
And
to
we do
live.
that most days.
Yeah, yeah. Wish I could be a fly on the wall and sit in on some of those meetings to see how that's all done because that's pretty cool. So going back to your operational side, your business, and what type of information, you don't have to go into specifics. What type of information lives on spreadsheets in that environment?
A lot of chemistry data,
Mm,
and then basically what temperature did you pour it at? We have the loft foam process. How did we blow the foams? What's the coating thicknesses? How did we gate it? Then what did we pour temperature at? And then how did it come out the other end? Did it come out as a good piece? What was the hardness? And then we take that information and we refine it.
that's so interesting. Yeah. So you're doing all that in spreadsheets. Do you find that there's a disconnection between some of your systems? I mean, you know where the disconnect, whatever your pain point is really. You got some pain points, I would assume that someday you'll be able to get around to working on, or maybe you're working on them.
Well, right now we have a lot of manual entry.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And with manual entry, you're going to have mistakes.
Yes.
That's just human nature. So then it's trying to catch those and not using those as part of your data sets.
Yes. Yes. Especially with what you guys are describing or what you're describing. I mean, it's critical you get the formula right, right? The chemistry has to be exact. So how do you make sure it's exact? Is just more eyeballs on it? Two or three sets of eyeballs are reviewing it?
But we try to do a couple sets, and then about once every couple weeks or once a month, I actually plot it
Okay.
in Excel and I see, do we have any outliers?
Hmm.
Do we have any numbers that look strange?
So what's your most time consuming administrative task then in your business?
Actually, the pull logs
Hmm.
it's two things. A, it's chemistry because we have about 24 different elements that we have to type in for each heat. And then the second item is pour logs. What temperature, what day, who cast it. We have to type all those. Right now, we're manually writing it because it's by an induction furnace.
Right.
And induction furnaces and computers don't mix
Okay.
because of all the EMF interference.
Okay.
So we have to write it by hand, but then we type it all in so we can actually work with the data.
Yeah. Wow. I've seen big companies, 100, 200, 300 or more running on spreadsheets, but I don't know that the data that they've told me about is quite as critical as yours is. Yours, you got some very critical data happening there that, like you said, you can't afford to get it wrong. So what are your guys' growth plans? You guys sounds like you're gonna be able to take over the world.
Actually, right now, if we have some of the government contracts come through like they're supposed to and some of our commercial stuff, we're looking at probably doubling by the end of this year.
Wow. Wow. And how are you gonna manage all that? That's like you're talking about hiring, HR, all this doubling the manual entry, like managing that
So
looks
I'm probably going to have to get either an operations manager or a plant manager to basically deal with the personnel side. We actually have a pretty good onboarding process right now that we've developed the last year, but we am beginning to, right now I have 22 people report to me. Mm, I don't want to say I'm maxed out, but I'm very busy.
yeah, 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 yeah. I appreciate
So
you
we're
taking
going to have
time to be on the show today even.
So we're gonna have to basically have like an operations manager or a plant manager to do the day-to-day stuff, like the regular lost phone. So then we can concentrate more on the harder stuff.
Yep, yep, yep. If you could describe, what your ideal it sounds like a dashboard would serve you well at that point, right? I mean, what would that look like? Would it be I mean, what type of things would you need to monitor if you doubled in size and you're the CEO or the president and you're, like, trying to manage all this from a computer screen? What type of things would show up on that in a perfect world if you had an unlimited budget?
Unlimited budget, the first thing would be inventory because some of our products take 2 to 4 weeks to come in.
Okay, yep.
So it's important that you order those on time.
Mhm.
The second item would be scrap rates
Okay.
at the foam side, the all the way down the system. And then if you could actually keep real world data. Because right now it takes about 3 days from time you blow a foam till the product is done to know exactly where you're at in the system.
How are you managing inventory now? Is it just a manual process as well?
Basically manual. Every
Yeah.
day I check it in the morning and check it at night.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So, you guys, you're blowing and going, as they say, right? Literally, literally. You said you told me you had someone on staff who is in the software side. Are you looking to move? Like, at what point will you probably pull the trigger on some of these automations and stuff that have to happen? Is that going to be just part of this process over the next year as you double in sales? These things come through. Well, I mean,
Exactly.
what triggers that conversation, right? Is it just the pain? I'm maxed out or someone's maxed out? Is that what triggers it in operations for you guys?
It's actually two things. Once the equipment is established and running, then we can start doing some of the automation stuff. And then the second thing is when we really need to know exactly what we're doing for our scrap rates, when we need to know exactly how that machine is functioning, then we're going to do more of a dashboard of where we at with different items.
Gotcha. Yeah. Do you guys have PLCs on your machines end? Are you able to manage will you be able to manage some of the information that way?
Yes,
Oh,
both
good.
of our molding steam presses have PLCs.
Okay.
The pre-expander has a PLC, and our molding line will have a PLC.
That's cool. That's cool. Are you guys
So
Yeah, go ahead.
we can do most of it. Our drying oven does not have a PLC, and then our shop blast machine is really old school.
Mhm. Mhm.
Only thing it has is a timer.
Mhm. Mhm. So once again, they're just almost like you standing in front of the oven, right? Literally just waiting for it to be baked and you got to stick the little toothpick in the center and make sure it's good or
Well, it only blasts for about a minute,
okay.
so it takes longer to load and unload than it does to actually blast the parts.
Okay. I would love to tour your place. You sound like you're so excited about like I can just tell internally like you are really into what you guys have come up with. It's like your baby, really, isn't it? It's like sounds like it's your baby and you're nurturing this thing. Yeah, it's really cool. So, are you guys using AI in any ways?
Well, one of our government projects, one of our actual original SIBRs, it's called Rubble to Rockets, and it was to be able to take scrap metal and be able to make a rocket in the field with it.
That's cool.
And then since then, it actually changed to instead of making a rocket, make anything in the field. Well, with a portable XOF gun, you can check almost all the elements except for carbon. Well, a metallurgist can actually take steel or iron, hit it with the grinding wheel, look at the spark, and tell you what the carbon level is. So we're
Okay.
developing an AI program to be able to automatically do that. So people in the field can actually just spark it, use the AI program and say, okay, this is 0.4% carbon.
Mhm.
This is 0.2% carbon.
Mhm. Mhm. That's
and
so
then they can
cool.
actually make stuff in the field using scrap metal.
Well, I can see where the government's interest would be in that. I mean, I know it goes way beyond government, but you can see, you just use your imagination. But wow,
Exactly.
that's amazing. That is really, really cool. So, you said to me before we started the show that you're kind of like all these people reporting to you, you're kind of doing it all. You're chief cook and bottle washer. So, what roles are president, COO right now. You're CTO. Like, I mean, what would be your next hire? Would it be that COO?
The next hire would probably be more like a plant manager.
Okay.
So the commercial jobs, he can win a lot of those commercial ones. We've actually established this is how they need to be ran. And then that would free me up time to basically do the R&D stuff for the other jobs.
Gotcha. That's really cool. Are you guys long term reaching way out? You think you'll end up this will be IP that you license, or you guys just you're just going to grow internally as big as you can and have
We're
million
actually
square
looking at,
feet under roof someday?
well, we're actually doing two things. When we get more production, we're looking at maybe operating the plant too.
Okay.
Well, the plant we built here is more for short run stuff, and that would be more for longer run jobs. And then we're also open to IP.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
basically, other foundries can use our technology
Cool.
and other places.
Very cool.
And we're also looking at developing equipment so they can buy the equipment also.
So I interviewed a guy. This was 2 weeks ago. I think 2 weeks ago, and maybe it's early last week. But they're doing some cool stuff with chemistry and it's a bonding agents and things like that. But he was using this AI that had it was chemistry. The LLM, the large learning language learning model, actually was built around the chemistry that they use, and they've been plugging data into that, and not just to teach it, but also to extract all kinds of chemistry from it. Do you guys in your industry, meteorology, do they have LLMs for your industry that you see being useful at some point, or are they useful now?
They have stuff like CalFab
Mhm.
and some other stuff. The trouble with metallurgical engineering is you can have the same chemistry, and it's how fast does it solidify.
Mm. Mhm.
So you have to develop the models for different solidification rates
Okay.
from a liquid to a solid.
Gotcha.
And some of them work really well. And no bake and green sand processes, which is much more established foundry processes, they work really well. In lost foam, we have to develop a lot more of that data
Mhm.
because we actually don't even use sand anymore. We use ceramic beads.
Okay. Interesting. Where do you I mean, just this is more of a personal opinion. Where do you see AI in your industry going? Where do you see it taking your industry, and what are some of the practical applications for you guys down the road, in your opinion? I mean, you stay up on, I'm sure, like everybody else.
So if you take a part, the way to get the metal into the part is called a gating system. And right now, basically, with my experience, I can look at a part and tell you how you have to gate it. Well, if somebody brand new comes in the field, they have no idea how to gate these parts. So what we like to actually do is develop an AI system where we can take the part, tell you how to print it on a 3D printer for the AMEC process, how to gate it, and how to code it. So we've basically allowed then the people in the field that doesn't have a lot of foundry experience to be able to make a good part.
Gotcha.
And then we can
Interesting.
actually sell that as a total solution.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you personally see AI in the world globally going? And are you one of these big believers that it's gonna grow like logarithmic growth will kick in on that as things continue? What's our world look like in your opinion? You seem like a
I think
very
there's
smart
going to be
gentleman, so I want to ask that.
I think there's going to be logarithmic growth for the next 3 to 5 years, and then it's going to settle off
Hmm.
because there's a point where you actually have to use engineering skills or knowledge that you really can't give to AI. It can't take the leaps of, I have 17 different elements. What's my microstructure? It can take 5 or 6 elements and it's fine with, but that next level, I don't think it can get to.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. So it only takes us so far, and you kind of think in general that's how it'll be applied across the board. It can only take you so far. I mean, I know in we're software developers. We use AI, but none of our coders trust it totally, right? It can't be trusted yet. To me, it seems like the next few years is going to be trying to get to a point where you can trust the output. It just is not quite there yet. It's funny, even if you
Right.
use
And
Chat
you can,
GPT, you see it yourself.
exactly.
So yeah, getting
I
to
mean,
that point.
it'll take a lot of jobs away, but it'll also then, what's kind of like what we're doing for data entry right now. AI will allow us to scan it, immediately put it in the correct fields.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
It might even be able to analyze it and say, hey, look at these 6 items that appear to be off,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it won't know how to fix it.
Right. Right. Yep. Yep. It's gonna take some brain trust or metadata, human metadata somehow to be able to piece it all together. Yeah.
Right.
And it kinda goes back to the idea they always say, AI is all about how you prompt it, but it's almost impossible to prompt. I guess eventually maybe an agent could learn everything about your business, maybe, but I feel like we're a long ways from that. So if you had some advice to give, I mean, you've had some, how many startups have you had? 6, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe from, I guess, what advice would you give someone who is starting up a business, but from an operational perspective? Because you've obviously are. It sounds like one of these people who like you're focused on getting the product made, sales. Let's just get that going, and we'll fix everything else as we go down the road. And that's you. Oftentimes it's a philosophy. Well, is that good advice you'd give somebody, or in hindsight, would you say, "Oh, I probably wish I'd done it this way"? What would you tell someone?
When you're ramping up, try to think, okay, if I have to build this widget, how much time is it going to take? And then how would I build 100 of these in a day? How would I build 1,000 in a day? Because for your MVP, it might take you 3 weeks to build one product. But when you're in production, it's not going to allow you to do that. So you kind of have to look at short term, how can I build it? And in the long term, how can I optimize it for full production? And it's hard because they're normally competing factors. So you kind of have to, I don't want to take shortcuts, but occasionally you're going to have to say, we're going to do it this way because we know long term, that's the way we have to go.
Right. So it's like be fluid. You mentioned even with your engineers, you don't want it to be rigid. It sounds like staying flexible through the entire process is a big part of it.
Right. Because you know it's going to change.
Hmm. Yep.
I mean, that's just the nature of a startup.
Yep. 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 You got to be
And then
okay with that, right? I mean,
exactly.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
other big thing you have to realize is sometimes the business has to pivot. So you might be making, well, when we originally started, we thought we were going to be making a lot of aluminum parts. We started in Springfield, Ohio.
Okay.
We discovered very quickly most of our customers is in iron and steel. So we
Okay.
pivoted, changed locations, got an induction furnace, changed everything to make iron and steel parts. We kept aluminum,
Right.
but we pivoted to those other alloys.
Right. Yeah. So
And
once
then
you
all of a,
go ahead.
and then all of a sudden, one of our customers says, "Hey, can you make stainless steel as a production part?" Well, we can. We didn't really think we were going to do that long term, but sure.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 So you know where the demand is. If I can go find some demand, and then if that means shifting you where you thought you were going to go, I've heard that from so many entrepreneurs. Like you just it never the business plan never unfolds exactly as you wrote it. Right? It never does. The numbers don't unfold. The demand, where you end up, and sometimes the end product doesn't look product itself, but like the businesses doesn't look like anything like you had envisioned. I guess it's okay. I guess you have to be okay with that, right? So.
You have to be flexible enough to say we're going to make it work.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. That's good advice. It's really good advice. It's probably harder to receive as an entrepreneur, but especially a young one who's all idealistic, right? But it is good advice at the end of the day. So the older I get, the more these cliches have more meaning, right? They sound so cliche-ish, but yet they go so deep to the gut, to the core when you actually live it out, and you understand why people who are older or with gray hair tend to use a lot of cliches once you've lived life a little bit. So yeah. Well, I really appreciate you being our guest today. I appreciate you pulling back the curtain a little bit for us. We learned a lot more about your business than we would have just going to your website. That's for sure. At the end of the day, though, it's interesting for me from an operations perspective how at the end of the day, it's you're managing a lot of the same things, right? People, and resources and inventory and accounting, and it's just at the end of the day, it's all a lot of silos that have to kind of you kind of got to knit them all together somehow. So I appreciate you pulling back the curtain today. It was really good. So I'm hoping that there's people who listen to this. I'm a big believer that a rising tide lifts all ships. So I'm sure there's some nuggets in here today, and people are going to recognize themselves in some of the stuff you shared. Thank you very much.
Thank you.